Netflix film that could have reunited Will Smith and Michael Bay unfortunately has failed to do so, with the latter exiting the project and citing creative differences. And him, Jordan Peele's next film, directed by Justin Tippin, has released this trailer online and it is very gory. And last but not the least, Lil Wayne's film, the Ibrahim Traore, the last African hero, was premiered to rousing success with the Burkina or the Burkina Faso ambassador to Ghana lauding a very high praise on him. So we'll be talking about all these and more right here on the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions, both from the African front and the international scene. So, if you're joining me today, I would like to welcome you for this episode of the Film Mandate. However, I begin this on a very sad note, based on the fact that for those who might have followed events happening in the country, particularly from yesterday, some illustrious sons of the nation um, ended up in a helicopter crash and losing their lives. And yeah, this involved a number of states and unfortunately a number of ministers of states and some important personality on their way to engage in projects for the nation, and unfortunately they lost their lives. So the entire country is in mourning, and I would like to take this opportunity to tell all loved ones, friends, and the nation as a whole that we mourn with every single one of those close relations, and I'd like to say condolences to everyone in this nation, all Ghanaians, wherever you may be, whether in the country or abroad. May the Lord keep the souls of the departed safe, and may He also heal the brokenhearted. So yeah, that's just by the way. Yeah. So we'll move on from there. And so, yeah, if you have been observing for a while, Will Smith, after some of the issues that happened in the 2022 Oscars, came up with a bang, and that was Bad Boys Ride or Die with Martin Lawrence. And now we have the Big Willie coming up again with a number of projects. But one project that it looks like it's been on the back burner for a while is the movie Fast and Loose. And Fast and Loose has had a number of directors, leaving the project. But currently, we have some developments on the issue there, and it reads that it's published in the Hollywood Reporter, and it reads that Michael Bay exits the Netflix's Will Smith action film Fast and Loose. And it is sad that we're not going to get the team up of these two again. But let's find out what led to that. So the streamer is hoping for a 2026 shoot for the feature that previously had David Leitch attached to direct, and this written by Ryan Gajewski. And let's go. Michael Bay has exited Netflix's action film Fast and Loose amid creative differences with star Will Smith, the Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Fast and Loose focuses on a crime boss who loses his memory after an attack and gradually learns that he was leading a double life as a CIA agent. John Hober, Erich Hober, and Chris Brenner and Eric Pearson worked on the screenplay. John and Eric sorry, Koba wrote the original script after selling their pitch to Netflix. The streamer is looking to begin production in 2026 and will be focused on attaching a filmmaker in the meantime. THR reported in October that Bay was set to helm the project. Fast and Loose has been in the works since before Smith's slap of Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars ceremony. The THR previously reported that David Leitch had exited the project the week before the infamous Academy Awards telecast to start work on The Fall Guy, the Ryan Gosling Emily Blunt action comedy feature that Universal released last year. Producers for Fast and Loose included Leitch and Kelly McCormick for 87 North, along with Smith. Robert Simons and Noah Fogelson served as executive producers for the STX films. Bay previously directed Smith in the 1995 action comedy Bad Boys and its 2003 sequel. Smith and Martin Lawrence most recently played the characters from the franchise in its latest sequel, Bad Boys Ride or Die, which Sony released in theaters last summer. That movie, having surpassed $400 million at the global box office, helped revive Smith's standing as an in-demand film star following the Oscars fallout. The filmmaker's most recent project as director was the 2022 Universal movie Ambulance starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Also known for his work on the Transformers franchise, they previously helmed Netflix's Ryan Reynolds-led action flick Six Underground that hit the streamer in 2019. Among Bay's planned projects include a feature adaptation of video game franchise Outrun with Sydney Sweeney. So yeah, and I think Deadline was the first to report on Bay living fast and loose. So it is indeed interesting and also sad at the same time, looking at how the Bad Boys, which was released in 1995, was such a massive, I mean, it was received very well, even though it had its own, critics at the time. But at the end of that particular film, it did establish Will Smith as a powerhouse of an action star, and likewise did same for the career of Michael Bay. And looking at what they were able to pull together in both the Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, also starring alongside Martin Lawrence, it did present, even though it was an action film, it had some elements of comedy to it, literally an action comedy of a sort. But this time around, as these two were hoping to team up for this Fast and Loose project, unfortunately, they couldn't resolve their creative differences. As I think the Deadline article points out that Will Smith wanted to lean more towards a comedy, action comedy film, whilst Michael Bay was pushing for a more high octane film, action film, rather than leaning more into comedy. So unfortunately, they couldn't see eye to eye. And I was wondering, why would Will Smith take this stand? And I realized something, that I mean, David Leitch was attached to the project to direct. And if you check David Leitch's film over the years, from Deadpool 2 to Fall Guy, and a number of projects that he's done over the years, actually leans a little, has a clear balance of both action and comedy. So it is of no surprise that David Leitch, being even perhaps the first on the project, but left it for Fall Guy. I'm sure he might have pitched an idea, even though the script was already written. But I'm sure he and Will Smith may have agreed to that particular style of a film or action film that perhaps sold Will Smith so much on it that he doesn't want to budge on such. And it is also of no surprise, because if you look at the last two installments of Bad Boys, it didn't go well for Will Smith in terms of both the action and the comedy. So perhaps that's the kind of branding Will Smith wants to go in this particular uh, era of his life. So I'm, I'm, I don't have the hard facts, but I can only point to that kind of milestones, seeing what David Leitch was able to do with Deadpool 2, and then what we saw of Fall Guy. It is of no surprise that perhaps Will Smith wants something in that same vein. So now that the spot has been opened with Michael Bay leaving, the question would be who is going to take over, or who will be taking over the project and directing it. Currently, I don't know what David Leitch is doing at the moment. Perhaps Fall Guy 2, maybe working on Fall Guy 2. But ever since he left the project, actually, he's still been working on it as a producer with his 87 North banner, which um, he's still on the project working with Will Smith. I don't know whether it's in title alone or actually actively involved in the production of the film. But if David Leitch is not busy, perhaps he may be the best person to return to this project and work on it with Will Smith, unless perhaps there was also creative differences between himself and Will Smith, which I doubt, because if that was the case, I don't know whether he will still be attached on the project as a producer, unless perhaps he owns the rights to it as well. So it is quite unfortunate that we couldn't see Michael Bay and Will Smith team back up to get this movie done. But regardless of the situation at the moment, I'm sure Will Smith needs a bigger win for this particular movie in order to help his career. And I don't know whether he may want to now go for the duo that directed his Bad Boys Ride or Die film to make that happen, since it's within the same vein. But I'm sure perhaps he wants someone with a different sensibility to give him diversity with regards to the kind of films he's starring in. So perhaps he may want to, I'm sure he's looking at that. Currently, as it stands now, we do not know who will be taking over to direct this film for him, but it looks like perhaps David Leitch may be the best person to take over and helm the project for him. So let me know what you think concerning this film, Fast or Loose, and then maybe let me just read a little bit of the synopsis, which is quite an interesting story if you check the synopsis out, and it is quite a powerful premise for this film to be, directed in. So let me see. I think, yeah. So I have, yeah. So Fast and Loose follows Smith as a man who wakes up in Tijuana with no memories. As he pieces together his past, he learns he's been living two lives: one as a crime kingpin and the other as an undercover CIA agent, John Hobart. Yeah, so that is how the situation is. That's the synopsis, the summary, or the basic summary of this film. So it looks like a very formidable story indeed, and I don't I'm not surprised that perhaps Michael Bay wanted to lean into the more serious, high octane action, maybe a little bit in the vein of John Wick, but in this particular film. So it's unfortunate they didn't see eye to eye. But let me know what you think about this production. Do you think Will Smith is right to hold his grounds with regards to an action comedy, or you think Michael Bay also is right in that regard? Or they could have found a possible middle ground to blend the two ideas together. Let me know what you think on this and leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. So moving on from Will Smith's Fast and Loose, we now move to another film that if you see the trailer, you'll be both marveled and scared at the same time. And this has to do with Jordan Peele's Monkeypaw's production new film coming up called Him, and directed by Justin Turpin, who directed the 2016 Kicks. So let's read an article published in the Yahoo Sports, in the Yahoo Sports website. And why Yahoo Sports? Because the film actually seems to be a sports movie, but with a twist of a genre that leans into the horror film. Knowing who Jordan Peele is, definitely he would definitely produce a film in the horror film or psychological thriller drama. So let's read the article briefly. And it says that the trailer for Jordan Peele's football horror movie him is a bloodbath. And that's actually a story by the Sporting News. A story by the Sporting News. And it says that the so it's written by Jael Raka. The trailer for Jordan Peele's horror film movie him is a bloodbath originally appeared on the Sporting News. Jordan Peele just unveiled the new trailer for his upcoming football movie him, and it's a bloodbath. Directed by Justin Tippin and produced by Peele, him chronicles a young football player, Tyreek Withers, who is invited by an aging player, Marlon Wayans, to learn about the journey to achieving success by any means necessary. Also starring other noteworthy names like Julia Fox, Jim Jeffries, Akeem Hayes, Tierra Wack, and more. This official trailer follows the teaser that was unveiled in April, which itself came just a couple of weeks after initial footage was shown during Universal's Comic Con presentation. While at CinemaCon, Wayans jokingly compared him to the 1990s classic Rudy, which was shut down completely by Withers. It's kind of like Rudy, he told the crowd, which led to Withers quipping back, "It's nothing at all like, is it Rudy or Rowdy? Pardon me if I'm not getting the pronunciation right." As for the official trailer, the comments indicate major excitement. Malawians being in this movie is exactly why I love comedic actors in serious roles. He totally crushed it in Requiem for a Dream, said one YouTube commenter. Yeah, so this is the article for the the movie him, and you should watch the trailer for yourself. If you don't like gory stuff, I will advise for you to stay out because it is quite gory and more like a. I would like to describe this film like if you've ever watched the movie with I'm blanking out on the name of the director, but it stars Miles Teller and uh, I keep forgetting, but Whiplash, yeah. So it's like the movie Whiplash, but on steroids and with a horror twist to it. That is how best I can describe the film. Whiplash on steroids with a horror twist to it, and it is indeed it's beautifully directed. I must say it. There's no dull moment within that 2 minute span where you're watching the things unveiling, and it starts out building the story up a little bit, and then it sort of veers off into a very dark tone. So whilst watching it, you could definitely make the comparisons between what is it's in the trailer of him to that of Whiplash. That's Damien Chazelle's film. So I started watching it and I thought, wow, this looks more like Whiplash, very a motivational film. And then all of a sudden, it turns into something else altogether. And I think if it can keep up the pace as it did in the trailer, this movie will be very um, absorbing. Whoever is going to watch it, you'll be so absorbed into the movie that you can never take your eyes off. And I think it's going to be good, but it may not be for all people looking at how, gory it is, blood splatter all over and all. So definitely it's going to be an R-rated film, which would alienate a number of the movie-going audience from watching. And also, obviously, it's not a four quadrants film. It is more gory and dark and a lot of violence. So definitely you wouldn't want to, if you are not the type that likes violent movies, you wouldn't want to watch it. But one of the things you can attest to the performances is that of the lead Tyreek with us, and I hope I got the name right. and that of Marlon Wayans. And just as the director said, Marlon has been known through most of his career to be a comedic actor. And obviously, he comes from a family of comedians, stand up comedians. But one thing that you can't take away from him is when he turned on his acting prowess in terms of dramatic acting, is something else. And he pulls not just a dramatic acting in this film, but very intense, high octane performance, like that of maybe, for lack of a better word, a psychopath in this film. And it is riveting. It's another thing altogether. So the film is indeed engaging and very powerful, I must say, for horror fans. And I think there's even more to it, that in terms of the genre, there's more to it than just horror. But for horror fans, you will like it a lot. But it has the element of I think it's more of psychological thriller. One article was wondering whether the film has certain elements, sci-fi or spiritual elements to it, which it feels like it. Even watching the trailer, you can feel a little bit of it. For lack of a better word, this may be an overstatement, but I don't think it is. But you could feel a little bit of the feeling of watching, like the way when watching Shining gives you that emotion. You can feel a little bit of it whilst watching this trailer. Just that um Shining, I mean, Stanley Kubrick, who can beat Stanley Kubrick? But it has that vibe to it where it is very intense and you can feel like you are on the edge of your seat even watching this trailer. So that is how powerful of this movie I believe would be if it lives up to the trailer. So it is all open to that. And I watched a little bit of excerpts of Kicks, directed by Justin Tippin himself, and I realized that there's an edge to his stories, or the stories he chooses to direct. Because in Kicks as well, it has to do with a black neighborhood, or a neighborhood that is downtrodden. And if you've watched it, you know what the story is about. A young boy who had, who is having a hard time being bullied and all, had the opportunity to get a new kicks, and they took it for him, and he was out for vengeance, and the whole story, a whole lot. I might not be telling the story right, but the premise of it is that it also turned out being a little bit violent, or a little bit on the edge. So it looks like he's amped it up perhaps a million times or 100 times more in this particular movie. And I can tell you for a fact that it feels very different from any other movie. It starts out as a regular sports drama movie and then ends up being psychological thriller, or with a very deep leanings into the horror element. So it is very new and refreshing, I must say, for a film that puts a different spin on this whole story of a sports drama. And let me see if I can read a detailed. Um, well, the one article did describe it in a very gory way that I think. Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen, because it delivers such powerful description to it that I think is worth reading. Yeah, so let me quickly bring it up, and then we read it briefly if I'm able to get it even up. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not showing up. But then let me see. Okay, if that is the case, let me just read it from where. Okay, so this is what the article says there, and this is published in the blooddisgusting.com website. It says that greatness demands sacrifice in the upcoming Him, from producer Jordan Peele's Monkeypaw Productions, and the new trailer this week previews just how bloody those sacrifices will get. From director Justin Tippin, Kicks. Him will release in theaters September 19th. Watch the trailer below to see an inspirational sports movie evolve into an absolute nightmare. As Tippin explained to Empire Online, my instinct was to set it up in a way that it feels like we are in Friday Night Lights or a Gatorade or Nike ad. We are rooting for the kid who just needs to unlock one thing to take it to the next level. And then we subvert the expectations and let it evolve or devolve depending on your sensibilities into something it's not. So that is how, you know, that's the description the director was giving to Empire Online. It is something else. You need to watch the trailer, but please take with precautions that if you don't like gory stuff and violence, please don't watch it because it is something else. So let me know what you think about this particular story. The story him being produced by Jordan Peele with this Monkeypaw Productions company, and it was directed by Justin Tippins. Let me know what you think about this in the section below. So moving on from Hollywood straight to Ghana, where I reside, one filmmaker, Kojo Nkansa, aka LilWin, took a bold step to direct a film about one African leader, an industrial son of the land called Ibrahim Traore. And he titled this film Ibrahim Traore, The Last African Hero. And he did release it on 2nd August to outstanding crowd who filled the cinemas to the brim, and even inviting some government officials, including an ambassador from Burkina Faso to Ghana. And after the screening, the ambassador to Ghana, called David Kabré, lauded the performance of LilWin, even conferring on him the best actor in Africa. So let's take a look at this article published in the Joy Online on the Joy Online website. And it says that Burkina Faso Ambassador LilWin honors LilWin as Best Actor in Africa at Captain Ibrahim Traore premiere. And there in your shot, if you can see it on the screen, there in your shot is the ambassador David Kabré honoring LilWin on the left in that hat, round hat, with the award. And it says that Kumasi's SG Mall bustled with excitement as actor Kojo Nkansa, popularly known as LilWin, was honored as the best actor in Africa by His Excellency David Kabré, ambassador of Burkina Faso to Ghana. The recognition was announced during the premiere of Captain Ibrahim Traore, The Last African Hero, a film chronicling the life of the Burkinabe revolutionary leader. The premiere attracted a distinguished audience of diplomats, filmmakers, and cinema fans eager to witness the Pan-African collaboration. Shot with contributions from both Ghanaian and Burkinabe talent, the movie has due praise for its narrative and cultural resonance. LilWin's performance in the lead role demonstrated a depth and versatility that earned him high praise from Ambassador Kabré. By honoring LilWin as Best Actor in Africa, we celebrate his outstanding skill and the unifying power of our shared stories, the ambassador remarked. He added that such recognition not only spotlights individual achievement, but also underscores the growing strength of African cinema on the world stage. Known for his dynamic presence in Ghana's film and music scenes, LilWin expressed deep gratitude for the award. This recognition inspires me to keep telling our stories with authenticity and passion, he said. So there in your short is the walkway into the cinema, and it was really packed, as you can see in the shot below. Yeah, in the shot, yeah, on screen. So I mean, it is exciting that his performance was lauded by the ambassador. I haven't seen the film personally because it hasn't received a wide release yet, and currently it's only been released in the Ashanti region where he hails from, particularly in the Kumawood film industry in the Ashanti region. So I think the next spot or region he's going to is the Sunyani. So obviously the Bronga Afro region. So obviously he's going on a tour with it first before perhaps he may release it nationwide. But one thing I'm happy about is the fact that he, him and the director Jackson K. Bentum approached it from an angle that is appreciable, particularly to the Burkina base. And I'm excited about that because going into this particular production, my concern was that he would take it more serious than the regular films that he does in terms of, I mean, when I say serious, I'm not talking about the production, I'm talking about the character because he is more of a comedic actor, just as I said about Marlon Wayans. LilWin is a comedic actor, and most of his films that he's done, he always puts across comedy. And definitely, I know that even in a more serious um, in the movie, he will definitely slip in some comedic, stints to give it some comedic feel. So that I'm not going to be surprised if he did that in this film. But going into it, my concern was that he would treat the subject matter in such a way that it won't um, sort of degrade or paint a negative light or make joke or take lightly, make light the events that is happening in Burkina Faso that majority of us Africans are happy about the fact that a leader is taking the reins of affairs of their own people and making something good out of it, and we are all excited about that. So going to it, my concern was that he doesn't do a film that they diminish all the good things he's doing. And with the fact that this Ambassador Kabré, has loaded upon him the award of Best Actor in Africa, it then points to the fact that he delivered that promise. And I'm excited about it because then it gives hope for more biopics of this nature to be done. And I'm happy that Lil Wayne has led the way. And honestly, I've always said that he's one of the best actors we have in Ghana or in Africa. The challenge has always been finding the right vehicle for him to have that necessary exposure, and it looks like this happens to be that vehicle to give him that leverage, that attention and exposure he wants. Recently, he even did announce that on his social media platform, I think on TikTok or even across all his social media platforms, that he's in a conversation with Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme, to do a film together. And reports had it that he even came to Ghana to, lend his support to him. I'm not sure yet whether he attended the premiere of this film, but what we know for sure, of which I did watch the video chat he had with Jean Claude, that they planned doing something together, and it was exciting to hear that this news on the fact that there's going to be a possible collaboration between him and Jean-Claude Van Damme. So because Jean-Claude Van Damme in Ghana is really huge, particularly from the 90s, he was really one of the biggest stars we hailed so much in Ghana. So to have him collaborate with Lil Wayne on a project will be massive in Ghana and Africa as a whole. So I'm excited about this, particularly for it being a tremendous success, even acknowledged by the authorities of Burkina Faso, which is really good, not just for him as an individual, but for the film industry in the country as a whole. So I'm excited about this for Lil Wayne. I don't know what you think about this. Let me know what you think concerning this film and this award given to Lil Wayne by Ambassador Kabré from Burkina Faso. So let me put your thoughts in the comment section below. And this wraps up my three stories for this episode. However, today being a Friday, I won't definitely leave you to go without telling you some of the movies that will be showing in the cinemas over the weekend. So let's take a look at some of the films that are showing perhaps for the very first time, and also the films that have been screening for a while now. So at the Silverbird Cinemas website, Accra Mall, we have the film Freakia Friday, which is, I think, a reboot of the older one, which is premiering today at the Silverbird from 12 noon. And it's a comedy family movie. And also Weapons, which is said to have 100% Rotten Tomato score, is also premiering today. It is a horror mystery movie, so you can also go and watch it if you're into horror. And one of the biggest films of perhaps this year is Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie Infinity Castle. And fortunately, it's in the cinemas because in the States or in the North America and most places, it's on the Netflix. But this is in the cinema. So if you are into anime and a lot of action, pack K-pop movies, you can go into the cinema and watch this. So these are the two films premiering for the first time at Silverbird, but there are also films from last week and beyond, and that is The Bad Guys 2, very exciting film as well, animation. And then you have Son of Sadar, a Hindi comedy movie, and also Naked Gun, which is Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson's comedy film, which is I think the fourth in the installment of the Naked Gun series. We also have Thames Paradise, a Black Star Films, also which premiered last week, and we have the Fantastic Four first steps still in the cinemas as well with a lot of screen times. So there's a lot of films you can still go and watch at a Silverbird if you are in Ghana, and I'm sure this may be same for the Silverbird in Nigeria and anywhere else that Silverbird exists on this continent. So that is exciting films to look out for over the weekend to watch. And also, wherever you are in the world, there is a film that you can watch. And from there, let me see. I'm trying to bring up it looks like I've mixed up. Pardon me. Yeah, so from there, we move to the Rotten Tomatoes website to take a look at the films that will be premiering this weekend or will be showing still from the weekend. And starting from Bullets, Blades, and Blood, it actually will be opening on the 9th. And then you have Run Seo Jin. It's difficult to pronounce, but it's a live viewing of a tour in Amsterdam by a musical group from, I'm sure, from Asia. And we also have Weapons. Okay, and now the Weapons, the Rotten Tomatoes for Weapons has dropped by 4% to 96, but that is really a good rating, still a very good rating for the for the movie Weapons. We also have Freakier Friday still showing, also will be premiering worldwide today. And the My Mother's Wedding, It's Never Over, Jeff Buckley, Strange Harvest, Sight, Ebony, and Ivory, The Occupants, all premiering today. But there are a lot more movies that are on the website, and I'll leave the link in the comments section, in the description section below, if you want to check out all the roster of films and see which ones are showing near you, so you can go and watch and be entertained. So all too soon, I bring this episode to an end. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I'm really privileged and honored to have you, watch me week after week and day after day. So I'll be coming your way again with another exciting episode next week. That is on Monday, and I'm excited to tell you that on Monday that would be my 100th episode. So I'm so grateful for how far I've come, and uh, I'd like you to keep supporting this channel by subscribing to it and sharing the link to people, and recommending this channel to others to also support as well. So all too soon, I've come to an end, and thank you once again for joining me for this episode. I'll come your way again on Monday, and my name is Papa Otu, and this has been the film mandate. See you soon.